Imagine a world where the sky itself seems to crack, where rivers swell into oceans, where storms rage for 40 days and nights, and humanity faces its greatest trial. This is not myth. This is a memory, prophecy, and history woven together. This is the story of Noah's flood, a story remembered in scripture, echoed in cultures around the world, and hidden at the very layers of earth itself. Tonight we will journey across time and space, from the plains of ancient Mesopotamia to the geological evidence behind the Black Sea to the pages of the Bible. We will ask, did it really happen? And more importantly, what does this story reveal about God's justice, mercy, and covenant with mankind? Genesis 6 opens with a world full of corruption. Every thought and inclination of humanity leaned towards wickedness. Violence, cruelty, and moral decay spread like a shadow over the earth. And then comes a phrase that puzzled readers for centuries. The Lord was grieved that he had made man in the earth. Genesis 6:6. Notice carefully, God does not regret in human sins, as 1 Samuel 15:29 reminds us. He who is the glory of Israel does not lie or change his mind, for he is not a man that should change his mind. This divine grief of sorrow born of perfect knowledge and love, God is lamented of corruption, mourning the destruction humanity has chosen for itself, while still remaining sovereign and unchanging. Into this world, God places Noah, a man righteous and blameless among his contemporaries. Noah walks with God, listens, obeys, and receives a divine command unlike any other. Build an ark, not a boat, not a raft, but a massive vessel to preserve life, a floating sanctuary of hope amidst a pending judgment. The ark, described with precise measurements of 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. That's roughly 450 feet long, almost as long as a modern football field. Every detail is given rooms for animals, provision, and Noah's family. This is not a storytelling hyperbole. This is a divine architecture, a lifeboat for creation itself. And then comes the boarding of animals, 2 of every kind, clean and unclean, small and large, bird and beast. Imagine the preparations, feeding, sheltering, preserving lives that God had created. The story paints a picture of obedience, diligence, and trust. Noah doesn't question the impossible, he acts, and that is the heart of faith. 40 days and nights of rain follow. Mountains disappear under the waters. The very globe seems to dissolve in judgment and mercy alike. This is the flood, not just the water, but of divine correction, a purging of human wickedness and a reset of the world. If we look beyond the Bible, we find similar stories. The Epic of Gilgamesh tells of the Unapshin, a righteous man warned by a god to build massive boat. He preserves life, sees out birds to find land, and makes sacrifice when the water recedes. The Atrahasis Epic presents almost the same story. God decides to wipe humanity. One man survives. Life is renewed. Around the globe, cultures tell of great floods. India's Manu, Japanese Azami's flood, Native American deluge myths, African and Polynesian traditions. Through detail, very core theme is shared: catastrophe, survival, and renewal. Could all of these stories be mere coincidence? Perhaps, but it suggests one of two things. Either humanity shares a deep architect of chaos and rebirth, or there's a memory of actual catastrophic floods embedded in the collective consciousness. Here's where the story meets modern science. Around 7,600 years ago, the Mediterranean may have poured into the Black Sea through the Bosporus, rapidly inundating thousands of square kilometers of coastline. Villagers disappeared underwater. Memories of devastation could have migrated westward, forming the basis of flood legends. And about 12,800 years ago, the Earth experienced abrupt climate change, reversal. Glacial lakes burst catastrophically, sea levels rose quickly, and sudden environmental changes could terrify early humans. These events provide plausible historical kernels for myths of divine judgment by water. Across the world, local floods, tsunamis, and lake overflows happen with terrifying suddenness. A single enormous regional flood could easily become remembered as a global and oral tradition. Important to note, modern geology does not support a literal global flood covering all mountains in a single year. Stratigraphy, fossils, and radiometric dating show as far more complex history. But regional megafloods, those we can observe, date, and connect to early human memory. Science gives us context, not contradiction. It highlights the immense power of water, exactly what the biblical story depicts. After the water recedes, Noah and his family exit the ark. They built an altar, offering sacrifice, and God makes a covenant, a promise to never destroy the earth with a flood again. The rainbow is given as a sign. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Genesis 9:13. The rainbow is more than beauty in the sky. It is a prophetic symbol pointing to Jesus Christ, the ultimate covenant of mercy. Just as Noah has saved through obedience, humanity is offered salvation through faith. Judgment comes, mercy extended, and life begins anew. So, how do we prove the flood? Faith in Scripture, the Bible provides eyewitness testimony through divine revelation. Its consistency, moral depth, and prophetic connections affirm reality of the event, even if the mechanics remain mysterious. Flood myths across civilizations have pointed to shared memory of catastrophic events. These stories, while not precise, validate the notion of a massive, fearsome flood that shaped human consciousness. Scientific context. Regional megafloods, glacial lake outburst, and the Black Sea deluge show that sudden, devastating floods are a part of Earth's history. They are the kind of events that could inspire stories like Noah's, while showing the scope of God's power and timing. Faith and evidence meet beautifully here. The story is spiritually true, morally instructive, and historically plausible, even if not every mountaintop detail is physically confirmed. The flood story reminds us that God's justice and mercy are inseparable. It is the story of a warning, but also hope. Humanity may fail, but God's promises do not. And the ark was real for Noah. The rainbow is real for us. Science reminds us of the power and the unpredictability of water. History reminds us that people remember catastrophe. Scripture reminds us that God remembers his creation with love, even when judgment is required. In the light of Jesus Christ, every rainbow, every act of salvation, every ark points to him. The water came, the world was shaken, and yet life endured. That is the ultimate truth. God preserves, God redeems, God remembers, and his covenant stands eternal. Have a good day, guys. Bye.